Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Today I am going to finish off this stone for my old friend Famo. He's just back from a trip and I'm thinking he wants his stones back sometime soon, so I better get this one done. What we're going to do is just go through all the stages of polishing, and I won't actually show or record the process, but I'll jump in after each stage and show you what I'm looking for between the stages to make sure I've done it correctly. And yeah, this is the stone. This was the only one out of his parcel that had anything half decent in it, and so you can see it's a really weird, it reminds me of a jellyfish, but it's a crystal opal from probably Endemuka crystal, and it's got this really nice edge over here. So what we're going to do is, I'm not going to change the shape too much. I'm going to get rid of a little bit of the irregularities here and there. Going to get rid of a few of the little sand spots that still remain because it's a nice crystal. We need to have it nice and clean. But in terms of the shape, it's going to be a fairly organic shape, which will mean it takes a little bit of effort to polish. And hopefully that complex polishing will highlight a few issues that I see commonly. So we'll just go through it. First step is, here is the rub. Wet, it looks really nice and fine. Hopefully when it's polished, it'll look like this, if not a little bit better. But because this has been hit with the sintered diamonds, if I give it a quick dry and come back, you'll see what this actually looks like. And here's the same stone dry. You can see it's all fogged over. If I get the light to play across the surface, which it doesn't really do because it's so foggy, you can see there's heaps of areas where there's huge scratches. This is just what a sintered diamond burr is going to do. I believe this one was touched last with the 600 grit, and you can see how brutal that is still to the surface. So you're getting no shine. Any of those shiny parts are just from little chips or exposed patches that weren't hit by the sintered diamond, like this one here, because it's so colourful. You don't want to hit that with the sintered diamond, so I would have been avoiding that. And it's got a little bit of gloss to it still, but this is what it looks like. You can see there's a bit of a scratch across here, and all of this we have to get rid of. And to do that, we are going to go through. I'll do a little bit of sintered diamond just to clear it out a little bit, but it's all up to these guys really. These do the hard yards. So these are the Diamond Pacific Novas. I'll wet them a bit because these are old and they're getting a bit foggy. So now you can see it's black, brown, grey and pink. And these will get you through a polish for basically any opal there is. I've not found these to struggle with anything. These are the large set, and you can see from the relative sizes, the 3000, it's nice and fine and it doesn't wear down so quickly. That's typically about the standard shape and size they come in. Whereas the black, these are all from the same set and they've been used the same amount. The black you can see has worn down much more. That's the 280 grit. And then the brown has also been worn down a bit. I've really kept an eye on keeping the shape correct because I really like this shape. And you don't want to wear in little concave areas or anything like that. And then the grey, you can see it hasn't worn down too much. In the pores, it's got a little bit of opal dust in it. And then yeah, like I said before, the pink is fine. There's a little bit of a gouge here. That's where I hit the edge of a stone. You never want to hit a sharp edge of a stone. That's the plan. And then we'll go through and do a cerium oxide polish. I'll come back once I've got through the first stage and we'll have a look at each stage as we go. Alright, and here we are after the black novas. And it's not too bad. You can see that the entire stone has been hit, so it's all foggy. The colour's trying its hardest to come through the fog, but it doesn't quite make it. It's got that real milky kind of washed out look. That's just because it's all scratched up a little bit too much to reflect the light straight back at our eyeballs nice and clearly. Now, if I were grading this, I would give the person about a B+, maybe an A. So right here you can see a little bit of a flash. Now that is a tiny little spot that hasn't gotten hit yet. And it's most likely a tiny little fragment that's come off during the sintered diamond burrs. So it's reflecting the light straight back at us and it's like a shining beacon of problems. So that has to be hit again a little bit with the black. And there's also some areas just over here which are hard to see. Really easy to see under magnification. But just here, there are a couple spots where you can see that tiny bit of sand still there. Tiny little sand spot. It's probably not a sand spot. It's probably just another one of those tiny little chips that have come out. And it's just been packed in with loose opal dust. So that also needs to come off. But really, for that to be the only two tiny issues after a 280 grit Nova. That's not bad, and you can get rid of these with the 600 brown Nova, but I'm just going to fix them up just a tad with the black 280, and then I'll be back after we've gone through the 600, so you can see what it's like at that stage. Alright, now here we are at the end of the 600 grit Nova points, so that's the brown. And you can see the colour is starting to sparkle through, but it's got this nice consistent fog look. That's how you know that you're on track. Actually, another thing that can tell you that you're on track is the feel of the Opal. Now, I hate the feel of an Opal at the 600 and 1200 grit. 1200 grit's a little bit better, but at 600 I hate this. I don't know, it almost feels soft and fluffy. It's very unpleasant. That's probably why I like to hit it with the Cerium Oxide and get it nice and shiny and smooth, because it's weirdly grippy, and I'm just not a fan. But you can see here, it's definitely starting to come through. At this point, your shaping has to be finished, so this will be the final shape of the stone. You really got to lock it in at the 600. 1200, if you want to shape with it, you're going to be there for hours, and you only want to be there for minutes. So no shaping after this point, and you also want it to be really consistent. If you see areas that don't look quite right, or if you see anything that looks more like a scratch than the frosting, then you probably have to spend more time with the 600, or if it's too deep a scratch, back to the 280. But we've made sure that there's nothing too bad with this one, and you can see it's nice and even across the whole surface. Any edge that you're going to polish, you've got to make sure it's up to scratch. And this, I would give a solid A+ at this stage. So now we're going to move on to the 1200 and the 3000, and we should start seeing a bit of a shine, less of this fog, and then we'll really hit it with the polish and give it a proper shine. Now we've just finished the 1200, and the 1200 is nowhere near as bad in terms of feel as the 600. That's the first thing you notice. It's starting to get much smoother and less grippy. It is a bit of a pain though, because it is starting to get to the point where as a carver you might need to really grip on and hold on tight, because these suckers can go flying sometimes. It's always very good for the shield to catch them and spit them back into the water bowl, but every now and then you might launch one across the sky. So you've got to be a little bit careful of that. And you can see that there's still a little bit of a haze, but there are some areas starting to get a little bit shiny. It's reflecting the light a bit more. You can start doing the light over the surface kind of trick and look out for any kind of areas that you're not a fan of. And of course, you can start seeing the color coming right through to the surface. Even in the areas with less color, you can start seeing it sparkle. We're going to get pretty close now. We'll switch over to the 3000. You can actually go straight to your metal oxide polishing here, or your diamond polishing. I find that with carvings, it's a little bit more time efficient for me to use the 3000 Nova and then switch over. Though I really do like the final polishing stage with the Cerium Oxide, so I could just switch over to that now, but just because we've got the 3000 and it needs some wearing in still, we're gonna go over and start using that, and we'll see how close to a polish it really gets after the Novas. And you can also go beyond 3000 in the Nova. They make them all the way up to 50,000, though I don't personally do that. I've never actually bought the higher grit ones. I always stop at about the 3000, then Cerium Oxide for Opal is just so good that it's really unnecessary to go higher Nova. But enough of that, let's have a look at it after 3000. Okay, here we are post 3000 grit Nova, and you can see that it is definitely starting to take a polish, but I'd still class this as a pre-polish, and I'd never finish a stone just on the 3000 Nova. It is good, but it's not perfect. And what I've done here is this side is not quite where I'd like it before moving on to Cerium Oxide, whereas this side is. So I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up all that well, but this side's got a nice, even, smooth looking polish, whereas this side has a few little spots here and there that are just not quite up to scratch. And it's only because I've spent a little bit less time on here than the other side. The sides I've spent also a little bit less time on, so I'm going to go back and quickly fix up this side that you can see is a little bit less consistent, is probably the best term for it. And yeah, you can always use the light dancing across the face as a good way to check a lot of your polishing. I find that it's probably the easiest thing to do apart from grabbing a loupe, and you should probably do both. But this is a nice quick way to work out when you should stop. I'm just going to quickly tidy up this side a little bit and then cerium oxide it, and we will finally look at Famo's finished stone, which he can put alongside all these little bits of gold that he collected on the weekend. Alright, and here we are at the polished gem. You can see the colours leaping through. The translucency is pretty good, so the crystal sections, you can see my finger pass through it. And even the little scattered bits of colour around the less colourful areas are coming through nice and strong. The light's dancing over it beautifully. And that's what we want to see at the end. Staring at this opal for longer, it's really nice how you can see. I mean, I still can't work out how it was formed, but it does kind of hint at some interesting formations to get this opal to where it was. The ground has really done all of the hard work. All we have to do is scrub it up a little bit and it looks absolutely amazing. So hopefully Famo's a fan of his new stone. It's got some beautiful, like a red core. It's almost like a half a yaourt nut, but not quite. It's just, yeah, a weird little volcano kind of peak in there with some lava right in the guts, which is kind of, it actually looks almost fake looking at it from this side. Those fingers of colour go all the way through to the pinfire on the top and bottom. It's, yeah, quite an interesting stone. I think I'll just quickly chuck it on the balance, on the scales, to measure it up. I haven't actually calibrated these ones in a while, so I don't know how accurate this is going to be, but we're looking at a bit over 6.5 carats. So quite a nice little crystal there for Famo. Not bad for something he just had lying around in a little container. It's much better than these that it came with. So if we look all the way back to the first video, this was that chunk with a tiny pocket of opal up here, which really is not much. And then this one over here, which looks like a small piece of shell that is just also a real struggle to get anything out of. Though it could potentially get a small sliver, small little triangle out of that. Though I think this host rock is keeping it alive because it seems very flimsy and very fragile. You know what? 1 out of 3? 1 out of 3 ain't bad, and this one is a pretty nice one. Don't know what he's going to do with it. I wish I had a little container to put it in, but I actually don't have a lot of those display containers or anything. So what I'm going to do is the old classic. Piece of tissue, fold it up, chuck it in a Ziploc bag, and it can go back to my friend Famo. I'll probably have to catch up with him in the city at some point. Or might just have to whip out the metal detector and go hunting with him. Hopefully in the near future. But now that that one's done, I'm going to move on to the other stones that I've got. I've got a lot that have been sent in. Some that I haven't even put on the channel yet. So a lot of projects on the go, and I need to start finishing some off. And finishing off a couple other bigger projects like launching the website and stuff. Because these things they need to get done, and I'm kind of spread out over too many projects. So this one's done at least, and hopefully those other things you'll see on the channel very soon. So on that note, I'll see you guys around. Peace.